Alright, greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to another King K-rific episode. Why do I default to that so much? King K's probably not even watching this, because he doesn't care about Spyro, and he doesn't care about Klonoa 2 Dream Champ Tournament, the best Klonoa game ever made. I'm sticking with it. I think it's better than Lunatea's Bale, because it has some great puzzle elements, but before we get too far, here's our cutscene. That guy probably died. But, I don't know, I've probably been going a bit overboard on the whole murder thing. You guys get the point.
Spyro, the Ice Wizards have imprisoned our leader, Shaman Tuck. Can you help us rescue him? It is urgent. He has our tickets to tonight's hockey game in Colossus Valley.
Note that these cavemen did not mention Ripto at all. Ripto has nothing to do with the Ice Wizards.
If you get on the catapult, we'll help you across the chasm.
Note that Ripto has nothing to do with what is happening in the stage. As far as we know, the Ice Wizards just showed up and started freezing people. Dropping that breadcrumb, it'll pay off later. You guys can already probably guess what I'm getting at with that, but yeah. I call this game Ripto's Reclusion for a reason, let's just say. That's the most appropriate name it could possibly have. But, as always, in Spyro 2, there's always the central task you've got to repeat throughout the stage, and in this case, you have to defeat these Ice Wizards. There were similar enemies in Spyro 1, but they looked completely different. They looked like, you know, stereotypical wizards with big white beards and a robe. These guys look like weird things. But
watch, we'll help you climb this wall up ahead.
Thank you, Tom Kenny, doing a deep voice.
But as we defeat the Ice Wizards, then, because like if you don't kill the Ice Wizards first, then after you unfreeze the cavemen, the wizards will just freeze them back up again. There are these weird rats. Rats. With icicle noses. Not sure what the deal is with them, but yeah, so defeat the Ice Wizards first, then go after the cavemen. I think we're actually done with that gimmick, actually. From here on out, it's just straightforward. Actually, no, you do have to free one more round later on. At least one more round. I know of one more round off the top of my head. Make sure that you check around here on the backs behind these tents. It can be easy to miss a gem back there, and you don't want to have to come back for it. And there's a power-up gate in this level, so make sure you're killing your enemies. But another reason why I don't like the spirit particles is that, and this is admittedly kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of nitpick, so don't take it too seriously, but I like that the gem system from the first game and the third game and every other game in the series basically means you have to kill all the enemies, at least once. And I like that because it means basically you have to go everywhere in the level to do that. In Spyro 2, and this is where the damned if you do, damned if you don't element comes into play, a lot of the times I feel like they're too generous, but at the same time, if they make it too high, and that means that if you ever have to come back to the level, then it becomes a pain in the butt.
Hello there, Spyro. I could arrange for you to cross this bridge for a small fee.
Man, Moneybags got frostbite.
Spyro. Now I can buy that condo in Hurricos that I've been wanting for so long. Go ahead and cross the bridge.
Alright. This is a pretty cool animation, I must admit. Before we go on there, we're actually gonna go down to the lower level real quick and talk to- fuck! Haven't killed enough enemies yet. Here I was trying to be efficient. I guess that's my own damn fault. I should probably know better by now. That, you know, should probably come back for that later. I guess like I was trying to get at earlier, what I was trying to mention is that I felt like I have not talked enough about the positives of Spyro 2, because there are plenty. And I should stress that you know, a lot of people do consider this the best game in the trilogy. I personally might disagree with that. I'll leave my final verdict for the end of the playthrough, but cannot deny the quality of this title. It is a very fun collectathon game. that has some very creative level ideas in it. It has some very creative enemies and set pieces.
Thanks, Spyro. Just hold tight for a second and look out below.
And you know, while the weirdness I do think kind of gets a bit out of control, and I'm not really a big fan of the world introduction and outro cutscenes because they just feel stilted and weird to me, I do appreciate the game's commitment to weirdness and just being kind of out there.
You'd think those guys could have got me out of here without rolling a 2-ton snowball onto my head? Here, take this crystal. I traded some hockey tickets for it.
And I do have to admit, that's a pretty good twist for an end of the level. Like, the whole reason they wanted to rescue this guy is because he had their tickets to their hockey game. Turns out he sold it for the orb, or traded it for the orb rather, which is a cute little reversal, and I appreciate that. I think the graphics are, you know, the game runs at a lower resolution than Spyro 1, just trivia. Like, the first game runs at 512 by 224, and this game runs at 512 by 216, so they cut out 8 lines. But, I don't know, on a CRT you're not going to be able to tell that because of overscan and all that.
I lost my pet snow leopard. I was busy fishing, and when I turned around, he was gone. I hope George didn't get eaten by the Draculets.
We haven't met the Draculets yet, but to sidetrack for just a moment, there are mini games in Spyro 2 that I think have some flawed design elements, like the hockey and like probably another mini game I'm going to talk about later. There are mini games that I think offer decent mechanical challenges, and those are generally my favorite one. And then there's stuff like this and the Electricity Stone side quest from Hurricos. This Snow Leopard mission is baffling. That's the choice I would use. Those are the words I would choose for it. It's not a bad minigame, it's not an offensive minigame, it's not even a difficult minigame. But I don't know what the point of it is and what I'm supposed to get out of it. Basically what you do is George will wander around the map here until he finds a fish jumping out of the pond. And all you have to do is flame the fish so that it goes into his mouth so that he eats it. After you feed him 3 fish, he will follow you back to his owner. That is the minigame. Now, I guess there's some mechanical challenge to it in that you gotta, like, you gotta time your button press so that you can hit the fish, but, you know, it's pretty damn easy. And there was already a minigame in, like, Idle Springs, I think, that was exactly like that, where you had to time your button presses on the fish to get them to go in the tiki mouth. And that actually had some more challenge to it because you had to avoid feeding him the red ones. This is literally just you press a button 3 times and follow him around and you beat it. Do people like this minigame? Is this considered a good minigame? Because I don't get it.
You found George. I'm so glad he's safe. I'll be sure to pay more attention to him from now on. All I have with me is this round shiny thing I caught while I was fishing. You can have it if you like.
So there's the orb for doing that mission, and so, like, not offensive, not bad, but baffling. I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of it. It just feels like filler at best, is really what I could say about it. It's not something that's going to prevent you from getting 100%, so I will only criticize it so much. I'm just saying, I don't understand what the point was.
We used to give guided tours of these caves, but now they are infested with multiplying Draculets. It's only a matter of time before they take over our whole village. Do you think you can get rid of them for us?
So here's a nice little mechanical challenge.
Great. But remember, you have to catch them all quickly, because if any are left alive, they will continue to multiply.
And this is probably what that Electricity Stone side quest in Hurricos should have been, where it's like you gotta kill all the thieves before they call in reinforcements or something like that. But this is actually a pretty fun little side quest. It's a nice mechanical challenge that uses the Superfly power-up gate. Basically what you do is you try to fly around and flame these guys on one perfect lap. Because if you don't, they will gradually respawn, and if, you know, you gotta get the counter down to 0 to win the minigame. It's not super hard, but, you know, especially if you've played the game a couple times like I have, but, you know, it's I would have liked more minigames like this in Spyro 2, personally. Like, when you compare this to the George minigame we literally just played.
You have saved us all from a grisly fate. Please, accept this orb as a small token of our thanks.
Like, compared to the George minigame we just played, it's a lot better. There's some kind of challenge here, and we're making use of the Superfly power-up, and there's like a timer element to it that you gotta do it before they all respawn. That's a pretty good side quest right there. So, like I said, it's like, I don't know, the minigames I feel are kind of mixed in quality on the whole. Just from having, even just from having done that last session that I, ended up throwing out and replacing with this one. Yeah, but there was, as long as we're talking about George, we're done this level, by the way, and there's no skill point in it either. So that's actually a case where they don't die, and that was cute. That's probably one of those little outro cutscenes that I actually, it's one of my favorites, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But let's jump from Crystal Glacier to its sister level, Skelos Badlands, which you might recognize from the title screen in this game. It's pretty iconic in this game, I'd say. That guy's dead. That's funny, right? Are you all laughing? That's totally good black comedy. Hey, you guys want to see some good black comedy? Check out this scene from Conker's Bad Fur Day.
The frying pan. You stupid little... Whoa!
Now that is a hilarious cartoony death scene. That's how you do it. It's not, and you know what, I think the difference between what we just saw, especially, with like the attempts at dark comedy in this game versus Conker is that Conker has a little more confidence in itself. And it knows how to play the cartoony elements. When people die in this game, it just feels kind of weird. It's not like I'm offended by the like people getting killed or anything.
Hey, Dragon, I hear you're pretty tough. I bet my cousin Glug you wouldn't be able to make it through Badlands without getting singed.
Oh, well, I guess he was foolish to bet against a dragon. Oh, and by the way, what he just said, nothing to do with Ripto at all. These fire wizards showing up in the stage, that has nothing to do with Ripto. Ripto did not send these wizards to this level to wreak havoc, and if he did, then the game never mentions it at all. There's another breadcrumb for you. Are you guys picking up on what I'm throwing down so far? And believe me, that's not the end of this. Those cat bats are kind of annoying enemies, by the way. And by the way, those wizards are kind of interesting enemies too. Like, basically you have to charge into them and then their head falls off and their head explodes. By the way, make sure you shoot this guy up here for this collectible here. I don't find the deaths in these intro and outro cutscenes offensive or anything, and usually when I replay this game, I just skip those cutscenes because I don't really like them all that much, if I'm being honest. But they feel stilted and awkward, and whenever people die in this game, it's not really funny, it's more like, oh, I guess they did that. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like it feels like the delivery's not quite there.
Spyro, our village is being overrun by lava lizards. Can't you get rid of them before they eat my little buddies? I'll lower the bridge for you so you can get over there.
So this minigame, you might remember when I was talking about hockey in the last part, I mentioned that was not the only minigame where I felt like the camera was not helpful. This is another minigame that I feel that the camera can kind of screw you over. Now this is another case where there are multiple rounds, you know? So this first round, I find, is perfectly reasonable in terms of, you know, trying to get around and stopping the lizards in time.
Well done, Grasshopper. Take this shiny, thing we found to aid your journey.
I don't know why they made, like, the young grasshopper son joke there. I guess the joke is that he's a caveman saying it.
It looks like more lizard eggs are dropping down. Are you ready for another challenge?
By the way, I should note that each round of this minigame has its own musical track remix of Skelos Badlands, which is a nice little touch that I appreciate. Now this is the minigame I have issue with. The first round's fine, who cares, but this one, there are eggs all over the place and you never know which one is hatched and which one isn't because you can't see. And inevitably, the cavemen are gonna get eaten. By at least one of them's gonna get eaten. You're gonna fuck this minigame up at least once. The reason being is, once again, you're locked to a forward-facing camera angle and you don't know what's going on, there's no radar, and you don't know when the eggs are gonna hatch or where or at what time. So inevitably, a couple cavemen get eaten, and you know, it's one of those things that you just kind of figure out with trial and error, but it's like, and I will take blame for that round, because I should have gotten those 3 at least. But I feel like this minigame would be much more enjoyable to play if you had an overhead camera view and could see which eggs were hatching at what times, you know. You know, just have the whole, zoom the camera out so that the whole playing field's visible at once, and then, you know, just do it that way, and it would have been fine. There would have been no problem with that. Yeah, I saw it. But as is, it just feels very annoying trial and error. Not challenging trial and error, just a annoying waste of time. Like, when you know when they're gonna hatch, and can take the shortcuts, it's easy enough. This isn't gonna prevent you from 100%ing the game, but still, clearly—
Thank you for helping us again, Spyro. You deserve another shiny thing. I was going to use it as a nightlight.
Like I said, this is not like the beetle race from Donkey Kong 64, which is like one of those things that's so ridiculously hard that it could prevent you from 100%ing the game. Something that offensive and deal-breaker tier. That is not what that minigame was, but it's still— the design is still flawed. And I feel like not enough people, you know these kinds of things in Spyro 2. People are quick to criticize the boxing minigame in Spyro 3. People are quick to criticize the water tunnel minigames. People are quick to criticize, you know, the multiple characters, but when it comes to Spyro 2, I feel like there are plenty of flawed minigames to pick apart here, folks. And that's what unfortunately, that's not the last minigame I'm gonna be offering criticism of. And like I said, I want to be more positive with this game, and I'm gonna try my best, but you know, when a game's flawed, folks, and I'm gonna point it out. But regardless, I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, but you know, the minigame where you herd the snow leopard around, there is a similar setup for a minigame in Spyro 3, where this guy has lost his wolf Farley, and Farley has fallen down a pit, and the guy says, "Help me get my wolf back, Spyro." And what follows is actually a really interesting platforming section where you have to basically herd the wolf around using his favorite ball. And you use the wolf to weigh down switches, and you have to, you know, weigh down the correct switches so that you can get both yourself and the wolf to the end of the platforming section. So that's some really neat puzzle elements in it. And I feel like that's an example of how to basically take that concept that the George minigame, the Snow Leopard minigame, make it something really interesting and memorable. That's not what, you know, that Snow Leopard minigame was. You flame a few fishes direction and then it's over. And that's the minigame. So as you can see, like, I can point to examples. Usually when I find flawed minigames in Spyro 2, I can think of clear examples from Spyro 3 that basically do what it's trying to do much better. And, you know, I'll be sure to, I don't know, maybe I don't need to necessarily do that because I don't want to rub it too much salt in the wound, because I know there are a lot of people out there who really enjoy this game, enjoy this the most, the trilogy, and I don't want to be too overbearing on that point, you know. I'm gonna go backwards first through the stage. Actually, no, fuck that. We're gonna save that for later. We'll go over here. Grab some gems. Make sure you're flaming the cacti, by the way.
Excellent! You made it through the Badlands. I knew I'd win that bet. My cousin Gronk is a fool to bet against a dragon. Take this talisman for helping me out.
So, like, if this was the one level in the game that didn't mention Ripto, then whatever, but... No, this isn't the only level that doesn't mention Ripto. Let's just say for now that lots of levels in this game do not mention Ripto. And I will be sure to explain why that's important later on. It'll probably take me, I'll probably spend the better part of multiple parts talking about that if I know myself. Positives. I love the way this level looks. I like the musical track. I think the soundtrack in Spyro 2 is much better than the soundtrack from the first game. With the first Spyro game, I found myself admiring it more for the style than anything else. Whereas here, the compositions in Spyro 2 are pretty good and pretty memorable. So, yeah, I could definitely give it credit for that much. I really enjoy the music in Spyro 2, and it is definitely an improvement over the first game. The first game had a handful of tracks I really liked, but most of it kind of blends together. This game, I can remember pretty much what all of the levels sound like, just by looking at them. So, kudos to Stuart Copeland. He really stepped up his musical game for the sequel, and yeah, I'm sure most people would agree that this soundtrack is better than the first games. So there you go, there's a positive. Like, I find that with Spyro 2, I find that when it comes to the big picture, the game is perfectly fine. Very, very fun and enjoyable. It's when you start looking at the details of what it does that you start to see some things that, you know, are worth discussing. Some criticisms I have that I don't feel that are kind of nitpicks, I guess, but are worth talking about and acknowledging. But I digress. That's all the time we have for this episode. Please join me in part 8 and we'll continue to explore Autumn Plains and probably go find Sparks again because he's dead. I think there's some fodder over here. Yeah. See you guys in the next episode.